Hey, can you hear me?
Hey.
Do you know where, do you have Daniel Guerrero on the line, and do you know where the shelter is? Okay, Chicago's coming in. Her IFB broke. It's me. Where am I going?
Right there on camp 3.
Okay.
Do you want me to sit next?
Good morning, everyone. It's been a chaotic weather night in central Texas, from reported tornadoes to historic flooding. Part of I-35 in Kyle is still closed at River Ridge Parkway. Let's go straight to Storm Tracker Chief Meteorologist Chicago Windler with the latest on the conditions she has been tracking overnight and what's happening now. Chicago?
And what we're dealing with currently is a little bit of good news, which is the last round of heavy precipitation is scooting off to our east. So those of you watching us right now in Bastrop, it's pushed off to your east. Giddings to Lexington, moving through currently in Milam County, Milano, as well as Cameron. This is pushing off toward the east and finally out toward LaGrange. Not yet to you, but it will be shortly. So LaGrange and Warda, this moving toward you. So our current concerns aren't necessarily for the rain any longer. Instead, they're the residual effects of up to almost 10 inches of rain being reported out in Blanco County. So to set the stage for you, I'm going to take you out into Blanco County. That's where we saw earlier through the evening 2 rounds of rain. The first one dropped up to 9 inches of rain, and then the subsequent one dropped up to another inch of rain on top of that. The combination of the two has meant the Blanco River rises have worked so much water into that stream system that it's worked downstream, pushing toward the Wimberley area where historic flooding, catastrophic flooding, as the National Weather Service and emergency managers have been calling it, has been occurring. In fact, even a bridge was destroyed as a result of the strong rushing water, a lot of debris. Water rescues have been taking place, and where we stand right now is the worst of the activity appears that is now starting to develop even downstream from there. So here's Wimberley under a flash flood emergency, working down towards San Marcos and Kyle, also under flash flood emergencies. I-35 closed in both directions due to the Blanco River overrunning its banks and going across the interstate. Also, east of I-35, Highway 80 also closed in San Marcos due to waterborne debris, is how they're terming it. Waterborne debris heading up against the bridge. They've decided to close that roadway because of the potential dangers of that. And we're getting numerous reports of water rescues taking place, water inundating different areas throughout, especially Hayes County and also portions of Caldwell County. So that's why there are several shelters that have already been filled up in some cases. The San Marcos shelter, we're told, is full, so they're now diverting people to a new spot out in Wimberley. Wimberley High School is where people have been going. Caldwell County, the Luling ISD gymnasium is where people have been sent to take refuge and find a higher spot to stay away from these storms. So where we stand as far as watches, the entire area still under a flash flood watch. As far as warnings, and there are many of them, the biggest, highest priority would be these 2 boxes. This one including Wimberley, that one including San Marcos. These are flash flood emergencies. That's the highest level of warning that you can have for flash flood potential. It means flash flooding is widespread, it is imminent, it is life-threatening. So Wimberley out to San Marcos and including the Kyle area, that's where the worst of our problems are. Zooming out a little bit, we do still have flash flood warnings in effect for other portions of our area as well. Folks out toward Burnett until 7:15. Out into Blanco County, the western sections of it until 6:15. For Austin until 7:15, as well as for Georgetown and Round Rock until 7:15. To the east into Lee County, flash flood warning until 17. Out toward Fayette County until 5:41, which should have already expired. There you go, 7:15. They reissued that one. So we do still have numerous flash flood warnings in effect. As for severe potential, earlier before midnight, there were several reported possible tornadoes, including one near Dripping Springs, some mobile homes possibly damaged due to a possible tornado. Also in Austin, I-35 Service Road, north of the Breaker Lane exit, heading toward Tech Ridge, some debris, some damage potentially caused by a tornado, including the U-Haul there off of Runberg, and some more damage reported up toward the Hutto area. So numerous spots that they're going to have to go and assess what could be next. But I will tell you, it looks as though this line of storms pulling toward the east should be the end of what has been an incredibly long and incredibly rainy and stormy and dangerous night across the central Texas area. Walt?
Okay, now the cleanup will begin as dawn breaks here in central Texas. We want to go straight to KITV's Melanie Torrey, who's live on I-35 in Kyle, and they got hit hard with flooding. Melanie?
They absolutely did, Walt. We were just surrounded by brake lights moments ago as police were detouring people off the interstate. You can see those flashing lights up behind me. That's Highway 159 where people were being detoured. Now it's completely dead out here. Take a look at I-35. Not a single car traveling northbound or southbound. Like I said, drivers were being detoured up here, but now they're not even detouring traffic around here. It looks like the closure's been moved up, and you can't even get on I-35 now, starting at Kyle. You can still see there are some puddles of water gathering out here. We're not to where the river is crossing the interstate. That is obviously completely closed, and we can't even get down there. But this is what I-35 looks like this morning. Completely silent, not a single car on the road right now, causing some major traffic backups for you both in San Marcos and in Kyle. And as we know, people in San Marcos are evacuating. A lot of apartments flooded just north of town. We'll continue to follow the traffic and flooding situation out here all morning. Live in Hays County, Melanie Torrey, KITV News.
Thanks, Melanie. You know, first responders have been busy all night long trying to deal with low water crossings and all of this flooding. And you never see I-35 on Memorial Day weekend like a ghost town there in Kyle right now. But we are continuing to track that. As Chicago said, it looks like we might be out of the woods a little bit from some of the severe weather. But Chicago, your radar is still really blowing up this morning.
Yeah, it has been. And what I'm showing you right now, this is the estimated rainfall amounts. The reason that we're dealing with so many issues along the Blanco River, from Blanco out toward Wimberley and now to San Marcos and areas just to the east and northeast of town where water rescues are reportedly ongoing. I was looking at some of the emergency management feeds and they were saying Highway 80, Highway 21, water rescues also near some apartment complexes, dealing with some flooding as well as people trying to be rescued. So 9 to 10 inches of rain estimated out in those areas. Let me show you several maps. This one is the Blanco River in San Marcos, courtesy of the National Weather Service. Talk about a change. This river went from running about 12 feet to 42.5 feet. That is the quickness of a flash flood. This is a graph of the actual water gauge there on the Blanco River in San Marcos. No wonder we're talking about issues where people literally did not know the water was going to rise this high. To go from 12 feet to 42 feet in a matter of minutes. Incredible stuff there. ATXfloods.com, a great resource. It had been 183 closures. I updated this map not long ago, and we are now up to 223 plus road closures. As you can see, Austin not really affected by and large. The majority of the action down south into Hays County and Caldwell County, as well as up north toward Brushy Creek into the Williamson County area. As for rain, I told you the estimates are extremely high. If you go to the LCRA and click on their hydromet map, it'll give you a 24-hour rainfall total northeast of Blanco of 9.46 inches of rain. That is just amazing, a staggering amount. Meanwhile, here's Wimberley, and there's no rain gauge there, so we can't tell you exactly how much rain fell to contribute to the additional flooding, but we've got 6, 7, 5, 4, inches of rainfall all throughout areas from Dripping Springs out west toward Johnson City. So the heaviest rainfall fell in the areas that are dealing with the worst issues. Jason Walker, KITV photographer, made it out to the scene in Wimberley right around 11 to midnight last night, and he was over at Spoke Lane and Rim Road and reported to me that he was actually hearing people calling for help because they were stranded. We had reports of people standing on rooftops hoping for rescue. Jason was there with some law enforcement, and they simply told him, we do not have the resources. We don't have a boat to be able to go out and rescue those folks. Swift water rescue teams have since been called in. I'm told there have been at least a dozen rescues with other people waiting for rescue. Blanco River, this was a couple of hours ago. William Johnson, who has a ranch called Halifax Ranch there in rural Hayes County, says the Blanco River here that he took some video of was the highest he had ever seen it. You definitely know. We'll tell you with flood scenarios, turn around, don't drown. This is a situation where people are not necessarily even in their cars. They're just watching those floodwaters from the rivers running out of their banks and inundating homes and jeopardizing people and property and life. It is a very difficult situation. This was the San Marcos River before it reached that historic record level. Just giving you a feel for the amount of power with these storms. And even though things are starting to subside, I got to tell you, if you haven't downloaded our KI weather app, go ahead and download it, put it on your phone. It'll be a handy resource because when these flash flood warnings are issued, you don't have a lot of notice. So you can grab it on the go to track the storms. Last 3 hours, this is some very good news. We're watching things clear out. So Austin, we're starting to dry out. Still dealing with the heavy storms in eastern Lee County, east of Giddings. So the Dime Box area, you still got a couple of storms lingering for you, but the overall trend is for things to be improving, which is definitely what we want to hear across the area after so much rain. And I want to track for you where we're going to go from here. 7 a.m. Notice this computer models. I think it's pretty much out to lunch. Let's go ahead and exit these storms to the east by about an hour or so. So this would be more like what we saw an hour ago, just to give you a frame of reference. But as far as the rainfall to come, there's good news because we need to dry out. Otherwise, we're just going to be dealing with additional issues. And Future Track does exactly that as we work our way toward the evening hours tonight, finally bringing an end to our heavy rain. We might see some more showers tomorrow, but I'm just crossing my fingers because you know what? We cannot handle any more rain. Oh, and Walt, just to let you know, checking in on Lake Travis, and I haven't checked it recently, but before midnight, the LCRA said in Saturday alone, Lake Travis had risen a full foot. That is an incredible amount of water to be causing that kind of a rise on a lake that we know has been very, very stubborn to go up.
Thanks, Chicago. It has been a wild night for a lot of people, especially out in Wimberley. KITV's Lydia Pantasis joins us live out there, and people needed to be rescued. The Blanco River, it's just been a wild night for them.
It is so sad, Walt. In the time that we've been here at the Wimberley High School shelter, we've seen people come in soaking wet, no shoes, with only the clothes on their back. A lot of the people actually had to be rescued from rooftops, so they came in with nothing, a lot of times just coming in with their pets as well. Here with me now is Brian Turner with the Hayes County Emergency Response Team. Describe to me what it looks like in there.
Well, we've got people on cots, people on the floor on mats. We've got lots of people in chairs, almost everybody with a blanket wrapped around them because almost everybody came in wet.
And you guys say that you have a lot of people here from out of town. It's especially busy here in Wimberley.
We do. Wimberley is a resort town, and there were lots of folks here for family reunion, for graduation ceremonies, for weddings. I've talked to people from as far away as Boston and Houston that were here vacationing and have kind of had to endure this tragedy.
I saw a lot of people going in there that needed medical attention as well, right?
We haven't had any serious medical issues. We've had certainly cases of maybe some mild hypothermia that we've had to just get those people warmed up. But we haven't had to transport anyone to the hospital, and we've had some minor cuts and scrapes, and of course we've got infection risk with that, but we're able to deal with that here. Because
there is that infection risk. If you have the river water and it gets into a cut, that could be dangerous.
Correct. Any open wound, the river water up here is notorious for wound infections, and so we'll be following up with that in conjunction with the Red Cross and maybe some local physicians as we go on through the rest of this weekend.
You know, as far as what you guys need, you were telling me that you do need a lot of help here.
We do. We've been very blessed with the Red Cross's activities in coming up with blankets and that kind of thing. I can't speak well enough about the town of Wimberley, the first shelter. The mayor was there. We've got the superintendent of the school district here at the high school. We've got lots of volunteers working. But as the full aspect of this thing unfolds this morning, we may end up with many more refugees. If so, blankets, clothing, especially dry clothing, pet food. We may end up needing medicine, that type of thing. Certainly if people want to help, food stuff, drinks, even minor medical supplies, and always a donation to the Red Cross is a good thing.
Yeah, because none of these people are going to be able to go back to their homes anytime soon, because that river is going to keep rising.
That's the danger. We've certainly been following the weather and hoping to see the levels go down, but that's out of our control. And so we're trying to set up here for the long term. And we know some people's homes are gone. And so those people are going to be here at the shelter for a while. Some people will try to make their way out to get back to their hometown if they can. Others that live in this area or are here for weeks may not be so fortunate.
It has been a hectic night for you guys because you did have another shelter set up. Tell me what happened with that shelter.
Initially, we set up the shelter at the Wimberley Civic Center, and we had been there for about an hour. We accumulated about 70 people by the time we left over there, but the power had gone off in that area of town. And so we were struggling with that, running on flashlights and chem lights. And the folks here at the high school, again, the superintendent, they got this building opened up. We decided to bring the Red Cross resources here, so we transferred all of our people from the other shelter to here. We're up to maybe 275 folks or so here, and this facility is just a little bit better equipped than what we had over there, so it's worked out very nice.
Great. Thank you so much for all your help, and thank you so much for all you do.
Sure. Thank you, Lee.
Again, 275 people here at Wimberley High School. They do need help. So blankets, food, they need volunteers as well. And they'll be asking for more help, obviously, in the coming days as well. Reporting live in Wimberley, I'm Lydia Pantases. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Lydia. You know, you talked about that nasty water. Here's a picture that was tweeted out by Shelley Green. You can see this entire room is flooded. It might be hard to see at home, but this is the top of the doorway, and this is full of water and debris. It's really nasty there, as you can see. Also, we have another picture from Adam. He's showing a tree down across a road in Wimberley as well. You can see some of the destruction. Also, this is a flooded road, the Blanco River over the road here. It says, "Welcome to Wimberley," a little sign on this side of the screen. Might be hard to see where you're at home, but a lot of water there moving into areas that Wimberley really hasn't dealt with in a long time. On the phone now, we have the mayor of San Marcos, Daniel Guerrero, who's standing by live now. Mayor Guerrero, what are we doing for shelters in terms of getting people to safety in San Marcos to get through the day and try to recover a little bit?
Well, first, let me thank you for allowing us to have some time on your network to get some messages out to our residents. We have been, over the last few hours, picking up folks, encouraging folks to come to the San Marcos Activity Center. That facility is now at its capacity, so we are now directing folks over to Maria Hernandez Middle School. And so that's the direction in which we're trying to get folks over. If anybody is still in need, please be sure to call 911 or to the police department. We are receiving a large volume of calls, so we just ask for your patience. And we have teams that are out already in the community doing their very best to try to get to as many people as possible.
Mayor Guerrero, you heard in Wimberley they need supplies and help out there. Is there anything that you need at your shelters, or are you guys doing okay?
At this point, we're just now getting ready to do an assessment of the damage that we've encountered over the last few hours. We'll be going to each of the different facilities, both at the Activity Center and at Hernandez, to check on what the needs are there. Earlier in the evening, we did certainly go out and purchase bottled water, some supplies, food for those folks that are there. And so that they're taken care of at this point. But certainly we're going to need to at least evaluate what the needs are going to be going forward as people are trying to go and assess the damage at their homes as well. And with that said, we are still encouraging folks to kind of wait, allow the waters to recede a little bit. I know folks want to go and see what is taking place, but we're really encouraging folks to try to stay out of those floodwaters, stay away from those floodwaters, and give us a chance to go in and still be able to get to folks that are needing to be taken to safety.
And do you have a head count yet? Do you know how many people are in these two shelters?
I know that at the Activity Center, we capped out at about 300 people. That facility reached 100 people in a very short period of time, and that was due to getting a message out early that we wanted folks to be prepared to move if they needed to, and if they felt like they had a place to go with friends or relatives, to go ahead and do so and to plan to evacuate. And so fortunately we were able to get folks out early, but there are certainly still a number of folks that we need to go and try to get to as quickly as we can.
And right now you're directing people to Maria Hernandez Middle School, is that correct?
That's correct.
Great. And one more question. Have you dealt with anything like this since you've been mayor?
Well, in this particular capacity, no, I have not. But I'm a lifelong resident. In fact, my home is one of the homes that's been flooded this evening. And so, I don't know what my home looks like at the moment. But we come together as a community. I'm so proud of each and every one of my first responders, every one of my staff members that have really stepped up and are prepared to not only take care of folks last night, but well into today and possibly into this evening as well.
Well, Daniel Guerrero, Mayor of San Marcos, thank you so much for joining us. We want to check back in with you a little later to talk about these shelters, and if you need anything, we appreciate your time. I know you've had a crazy night, so thank you very much. Right now, we're going to go to Chicago Windler, who has been tracking this. I don't think she has slept for maybe, 24 hours as she's been watching these storms roll through central Texas. Where are we now?
Well, you hit the nail on the head. So if I don't make total sense, it's because I woke up at 5:30 Saturday morning and I have not slept since, because the weather has been kind of taking over the situation. To let you know where we stand right now, flash flood warnings have been cleared for the Western Hill Country. They continue, though, for San Marcos and down toward Caldwell County, where the hardest hit areas are currently, and in Wimberley, where we've dealt with a lot of issues earlier. Also for Austin until 7:15, up toward the Round Rock area, Georgetown, north toward Jarrell until 7:15, eastward into Bastrop County, Lee County, Fayette County, all until 7:15 in the morning. That's where we stand as far as current warnings in place. And flash flood emergencies, those are these two little boxes here, one over Wimberley, another one over the San Marcos area. And we have been told that Caldwell County officials, in fact, have said a mandatory evacuation was put into place earlier for anyone in low-lying areas along either the Blanco River or the San Marcos River because of those quick river rises. So this has been a really significant thing. Some of the new information that we're just getting in: Hayes County jail inmates are being evacuated due to floodwaters. This is fresh. Came in at 6:17 this morning. So 2 miles northeast of San Marcos, Hayes County jail inmates are currently being evacuated due to floodwaters starting to encroach on the jail. In addition to that, we also have word as of 5:44 this morning, about 2 miles east northeast of San Marcos, so a very similar location, water in the Aspen apartment complex, water up to the tops of cars in the parking lot. Earlier, we did have a report that there were people that were actually having to be helicoptered out of floodwaters because they were so high and because people couldn't reach them in order to keep them safe. So I'm sure there are going to be so many stories similar to this coming out of this story. Now I'm going to come in and zoom in and show you the Wimberley area yet again. One of the most amazing accounts that I could pass along to you came from Jason Walker, our photographer, who made it out to Wimberley shortly after that flash flood emergency was put into place. He went out there, he said it was dark, it was difficult to navigate. Pretty much everywhere he went, he ran into water because the Blanco River had come out of its banks so quickly. Now this river, the Blanco River in Wimberley, reached a historic crest. Look at this map, all the way up to 40 feet. The previous record was 33 feet, so it absolutely shattered the previous record. What's interesting is the National Weather Service, they kind of keep a tally or a historical database, if you will, of how far you have to go to see significant flooding. And they actually said once it reaches major flood stage at 26 feet is when you start to see some big impacts. Once you reach 31 feet, they said this will flood hundreds of homes. So they're likely, by the light of day, there will be a lot more damage than we can even really anticipate out in the Wimberley area. At 40.21 feet, which was the record, that's when this gauge stopped recording. The National Weather Service put out a statement and said, we actually think that the gauge has been damaged or something because of the high water. So we don't really know how high that gauge went, but they were estimating that it would take quite some time for the water to subside below flood stage. And in fact, if you look at this map here, 6 a.m. Sunday, that's where we are now. Here's noon time, and it's not until noon that folks with the National Weather Service are expecting that the Blanco River in Wimberley will drop down to major flood stage. To drop down to moderate flood stage, we may be talking noon on Monday. To drop below flood stage, we may be looking at Tuesday. This just gives you an idea of the extent of this and the length and the duration of what we'll be going through. Jason had said there in Wimberley when he got on scene, he was at one location and he actually would hear people calling out for help. We had reports of people standing on rooftops, and unfortunately emergency managers at the time could not get there to help them because they didn't have boats. And then they had to call in swiftwater rescue teams to help out the situation. Now, I will tell you one thing that's good news is thus far we have not heard of any casualties from the flooding, and I sure hope that that does not become a part of this very historic flood event. Blanco River going from 12 feet to 42 feet. That is absolutely incredible out in San Marcos. Walt?
Let's take a look at some pictures from a Facebook page. You can see this is an apartment complex that was flooded off of Ocarina Springs. They're dealing with a lot of destruction and mess out there as they try to wake up and figure out what happened overnight. Also, we have some cars that were flooded on Ocarina Springs as well. Look at that. A whole street of cars that are just flooded. Those will not be, those will probably be totaled. Once you get water that high, those cars, they're going to be totaled. So what we're dealing with as people wake up this morning on this Memorial Day weekend, you might have had a lot of plans. You're dealing with flooding. San Marcos got hit hard. Wimberley got hit hard. We want to take a look at the flood maps right now. So even if you want to get up and get around town today, you really have to watch the flood zones because right now we're tracking a lot of red on this flood map. You can see all of those red dots on that map mean that there are low water crossings that are closed. 247 low water crossings are closed. So even if you want to get out and about today, you're going to be still facing a lot of danger. And you just heard the mayor of San Marcos, Daniel Guerrero, saying, yeah, I know you want to get up and maybe help your neighbors and friends, but you also have to make sure that you're safe. And with that many low water crossings closed, there's still a lot of danger out there. And right now, we know in Wimberley, 275 people are at Wimberley High School right now because they had to evacuate to higher ground, and they are sheltering at Wimberley High School as they try to find out what to do next. A lot of people flooded out of homes. You saw all those cars flooded in Wimberley, so that's a big problem. Also, reports of tornadoes. If we can go back here live, we have some pictures that people were tweeting out. This is a picture of somebody who says they saw a tornado, and you can see a gray picture of the tornado here. If you can come back to me on camera real fast, I can show you some of these pictures as well. We're also trying to get out to Wimberley to talk with KITV's Lydia Pantazis and the people that are sheltering there at Wimberley High School. But you can see this big gray funnel cloud, and Chicago says that they have to go out and confirm what happened in daylight. And the Weather Service is going to be busy today for sure. Also, we have pictures of trees down throughout Austin. This is another picture of a tree into a house in Austin. And somebody took video of a parking lot, and I don't know exactly where this is, but it says, tornado hit my work this evening. And you can see all these carts and plants scattered in this parking lot. So there will be a lot to clean up throughout Austin. And Wimberley right now really getting hit the hardest as the Blanco River started rising up over its banks. We want to go back out to KITV's Lydia Pantazis, who was standing by. Actually, she is interviewing first responders out there. I'd like to bring in Chicago over here at the Storyteller and just ask you a few questions about what happens today. What's the Weather Service going to do? You know, people lost power. We've got all this destruction. What do you think the protocol will be today?
Well, I actually asked them that exact question, Walt. I said, you know, it's been a busy night. You've been up. I've been up. We need to find out exactly what happened with this weather event. And they said, hold on. We're still dealing with this current flooding situation. We've got all of our staff, all hands on deck, concentrating on keeping people safe now, but what they're planning on doing is if conditions improve rapidly enough, if they get enough of a break, they said it won't be this morning, possibly this afternoon, they're going to dispatch a surveyor or surveyors to go out and look at the damage. The spots that they're especially interested in, we got a report about 8:55 last evening near Dripping Springs, a mobile home complex there with some damage, and in some cases it was reported as significant damage, so I'm not sure the extent of it. That's one spot that they're going to target in on. Another spot that they need to take a close look at, and this is just around the corner from KITV, between Runberg and Breaker, the U-Haul there had some damage there, as well as some apartments, and our own Adam Hammonds was out there last night. He called me and he said, yeah, there are people who said that they thought it sounded like a freight train. They were convinced it was a tornado. There were some roofs that were torn off, not of the entire apartment complex, but of the northern edge of it. And he said there are trees uprooted. So he said people there who were through the storm firmly believe that this was not just straight line wind damage. So the National Weather Service, they're going to go out there, and what they'll look at is the damage path. Were all the trees going in one direction, or were they strewn about? If they were strewn about, it's possible that this could have been caused by a little weak spin up or circulation, rotation within the storm. One other suspicious area up into Williamson County, we had some reports of Hutto damage, of Cedar Park damage. Also, there was quite a bit of flooding reported in the Liberty Hill area. So more places that they'll have to go out and assess the damage for.
What was scary, I think, for a lot of people was this happened overnight during a holiday weekend. So you had people maybe had their guard down, and this really, I remember getting alerts all night long on the KITV weather app, tornado warning, tornado watch, you know, flood watch, flood warning, and those alerts were so important, but you know, it happened overnight, so it'll be interesting to see what we're waking up to today.
And what's interesting also is some of the reports of damage came from mobile homes, which are probably the most susceptible to this type of damage. So I hope that the light of day doesn't reveal tragedy. I hope that everyone was able to stay safe through the overnight. Another element is we had 2 rounds of storms. The first round was where we had that tornado and high wind threat, and then came the flooding, and then the second round was kind of insult to injury. So 2 rounds of storms, and a lot of people probably went to bed and said, okay, we're done. And then the thunder and lightning came at them once again.
And then you had the Blanco River. We had I-35 in Kyle. The water went over I-35. I haven't seen I-35 shut down because of flooding, and I can't remember.
It's been a long time for sure. We were told initially that Kyle emergency managers saw what was happening in Wimberley. The Blanco River runs from Wimberley. A tributary of it runs into San Marcos as well as Kyle. So Kyle was very quick to say, we anticipate historic record flooding there in Kyle on I-35. They said, we're prepared to close northbound and southbound, and that's exactly what they ended up doing.
Oh, I know. KITV's Melanie Torrey is out there. She's been tracking it and talking to first responders. We also have KITV's Lydia Pantazis, who is in Wimberley. They say there are 275 people sheltering at Wimberley High School. Also in San Marcos, they had to move people or stop people from coming to the San Marcos Activity Center because they were full. They're now directing people in San Marcos to the Maria Hernandez Middle School to help them get through the morning and kind of reestablish their day, because they're going to be waking up to a lot of flooding in San Marcos, and they might have lost, you know, almost everything. There's a lot of water out there. And did some of this train over the Highland Lakes as well? You mentioned, you know, Lake Travis has probably really got a lot.
Yeah, I actually should go back and check the level, because as of midnight, Lake Travis had gone up an entire foot in one day. You know what, we've been talking over years, it seems, and we'll say, oh, Lake Travis is up an inch. Way to go. It had been up almost 7 feet within the last couple of weeks, but now we're talking about in one single day to go up a foot, and it's not done rising because all of the water streams in downstream. Looking at some of the initial rainfall totals from Lake Buchanan out through LBJ and Inks and all of those, all the way down to Travis and Lake Austin, it looks like a good inch, inch and a half to 2 inches. On the other hand, the Blanco River, the reason we're having so many issues there, 9 to 10 inches having fallen in the Blanco area.